Hi everyone, it's Ellen. For today's video, I wanted to share with you the face up that I did on my Fairyland MiniFee Mirwen that I recently unboxed in my last video. I'll link that up in the cards if you want to see me unbox her. But for today, I'm going to show you how I did her face up. So getting started, I already have 3 coats of sealant on the head, and so I'm starting out with just some basic blushing with some soft pastels all around the head. I'm using just kind of a flesh tone similar to the color of the resin around the eyes, and then I'm going to be using a pink tone to add some blushing to the cheeks just to give a bit of a natural flush to start. Next up, I'm going to be using some black gouache paint along the inside of the inner rim of her eyelid to kind of create the appearance of eyeliner and the illusion of lashes of sorts once I put the lashes on. And I like using gouache paint because it's very opaque, but it's very forgiving if I make a mistake. While that's drying, I'm moving on to the lips. I'm starting out with kind of a dark red soft pastel shade to create a lip line effect, to kind of create a sense of depth in the center of the lips. And then I'm going to move into a lighter pink tone, the same shade as I used on the cheeks, to kind of blend that together and create more of an ombre effect where it's darker in the center of the lips for the lip lines and then gets lighter as it goes towards the edges of her lips. To start out with her eyebrows, I always like to do a very basic shape with a very light brown color. I'm using a pan pastel, soft pastel, because I really like this one because it gives me a lot of coverage and color right away without being too dark. So when I go over it with sealant, I can still see the basic shape, but it's not going to show through with the color that I decide to make her eyebrows later on. You'll see me turning the head upside down quite a few times with the eyebrows as well as with the eyeliner later on. This just kind of creates an easy way to double check my symmetry because it allows me to see the shape at a different angle than just straight on, and I can tell if anything is looking a little bit out of whack. Now that the gouache paint has dried, I'm going to continue my work on the eyeliner with a watercolor pencil. I believe this is a Faber-Castell. You'll see me alternate a couple times between the Faber-Castell and Derwent blacks. They just kind of have a slightly different effect on the eyes. I believe the Faber-Castell I usually use for more fine-tipped work because I can get it a little sharper, and the Derwent is just a little bit of a darker black, so I like to use that for filling in. I'm also using a watercolor pencil for the eyelid line, just creating that crease. She doesn't have much of a crease because this sculpt does have quite a bit of hooded eyes, so there isn't too much of a crease except for on the inner corner of the eyes, but that's fine. I still did a little bit of shading with that, and I softened that up later with other soft pastels. finally, some of the finer details like the lashes on the underside of her eye, I also use a watercolor pencil for. I just have to make sure it's very, very sharp so I can get those really fine details of her lower lashes. With that first layer sealed, I can now begin to deepen up some of the layers and colors that I have already started to build. So I'm getting started on her eyebrows first and just building color with that same pan pastel. I'm going to be adding a little bit more black eyeliner to her wingtip just to make it a bit darker to match that gouache paint. And then I'm adding some of the exact same colors to the lips just to continue to layer them and make those colors just a bit bolder. And with that layer I have sealed again, and now I'm going in with the eyebrow color that I intended for her final color, which is a much darker brown, and I'm going to go in and start shading that and just get the basic general shape with that dark brown soft pastel. For some of the detailing, like the tail of her eyebrow, as well as just adding some small subtle eyebrow hairs close to the end of that tail, I'll be using a watercolor pencil because it does give me a bit more precision and control than the soft pastel does. And now I'm just going to be going over the lower lashes with just one more layer of a slightly darker gray. Not black because I don't want them to be too harsh, but I still use a light gray and then a layer of a dark gray because it creates a lot of depth to those lower lashes than you would get with just a single layer. Now with another layer of sealant on, it's time for those details. So I'm using a white pencil, just another watercolor pencil, to add some individual brow hairs through her brows. And then for her lips, I used to use white for the lip lines, but I've recently taken a liking to using a watercolor pencil that's just about a shade darker than her lips are to create lip lines, and I feel like it creates a very beautiful natural effect. And then before the last layer of sealant, I'm just going to go through and do a little bit more blushing just to have the intensity on her cheeks match how dark I have her lips now. And with the last layer of sealant complete, I can go ahead and add the gloss on her lips. I'm also going to add some to her tear duct and her lower lash line just to create the appearance of wetness in anywhere that would naturally be on like a person's face. And I didn't show it on camera, but I did also add some 3D eyelashes to her eyes. And with that, her face up is complete. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support my work, be sure to check out my Patreon so you can see how to support me there. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone.